Welcome back to Book Summaries channel. If you've ever felt like you're only living a fraction of your true potential, today's book will be the ultimate wake-up call for your mind and soul. We are breaking down Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, the legendary story of a man who transformed himself from an overweight, depressed victim into one of the toughest human beings on the planet. David Goggins introduces his harrowing childhood, marked by extreme physical abuse from his father and the constant fear of poverty. He describes a life where he felt destined for failure, struggling with a learning disability and the trauma of racism in small-town America. This chapter sets the stage for his philosophy by showing that he wasn't born a superhero. He was born into a nightmare. Goggins emphasizes that most people allow their past traumas to define their limitations for the rest of their lives. He introduces the concept of the accountability mirror, where he started facing his own reflections and truths without excuses. By staring at his flaws, he began the painful process of self-improvement. He challenges readers to face their own reflection and write down their insecurities on post-it notes. This raw honesty is the first step toward breaking the victim mentality. You cannot change what you are willing to ignore or hide from yourself. This chapter serves as a reminder that your starting point in life does not dictate your finish line if you are willing to do the work. After escaping his father, Goggins found himself in a cycle of mediocrity, barely graduating high school and joining the Air Force only to quit due to a fear of water. He became a 300-pound pest control technician, spending his nights eating junk food and spraying for cockroaches. One morning, he saw a documentary on the Navy SEALs and decided he needed to change his life entirely. The recruiters laughed at him because of his weight and academic history, but he used their doubt as fuel. He lost over 100 pounds in just 3 months through a brutal, self-imposed training regimen. This chapter highlights the power of the uncommon amongst uncommon mindset. Goggins teaches that you must be willing to suffer to shed your old self and become someone new. He introduces the taking souls concept, which means performing at such a high level that you dominate the energy of those around you. Hard work is the only way to bridge the gap between who you are and who you want to be. There is no magic pill for transformation. Only relentless effort and extreme discipline. Goggins enters Navy SEAL training, BUD/S, which is widely considered the most difficult military training in the world. He details the immense physical pain and mental fatigue of Hell Week, where candidates are pushed to their absolute breaking point. Despite suffering from stress fractures and double pneumonia, Goggins refused to quit, proving that the mind can override the body's signals of distress. He explains that most people quit when they are only at 40% of their actual capacity. This chapter introduces the importance of mental callousing, where you repeatedly expose yourself to discomfort to toughen your mind. Goggins went through BUD/S 3 times due to injuries, showing a level of persistence that is nearly superhuman. He refused to let medical setbacks become excuses to walk away from his dream. His story illustrates that the brain is a powerful tool that often tries to protect us by making us stop early. By pushing past that protective layer, you discover a reserve of strength you never knew existed. Endurance is built in the moments when you want to stop, but choose to keep going. During his second and third attempts at BUD/S, Goggins realized that he could use his own suffering to intimidate his instructors and empower his teammates. He describes taking souls as a mental tactic where you outwork your competition so thoroughly that they lose their will to fight you. This isn't about being a bully. It's about radiating a level of intensity that shifts the atmosphere of the room. Goggins found that when he embraced the misery of a cold ocean or a heavy log carry, he became the master of the situation. He suggests that we should all seek to take souls in our daily lives by being the hardest worker in our office or gym. This mindset forces you to find a deeper purpose in your struggle. When you stop being the victim of the hardship and start being the architect of it, you become untouchable. It is about flipping the script on your environment and proving that you cannot be broken. Excellence is a form of psychological warfare against your own weaknesses and the expectations of others. Goggins explores the concept of the armored mind, which is a psyche built to withstand any hardship through constant testing. He believes that the mind is like a muscle that must be calloused through repeated exposure to pain and boredom. He discusses his transition into ultramarathon running, despite having no experience and a body not built for the sport. His first race was a grueling 100-mile event to raise money for charity, which he completed with broken bones in his feet. This chapter highlights that we often live in a civilized world that makes our minds soft and easily offended. To build an armored mind, you must intentionally seek out things that suck and do them consistently. Goggins used his past failures as fuel to drive him through the dark moments of his races. He teaches that you shouldn't run from your insecurities, but instead use them as the very energy that propels you forward. An armored mind is prepared for the worst-case scenario at all times. It is the ultimate insurance policy against the unpredictability of life. Goggins explains that the true value of hard work is not the external reward, but the internal change that occurs during the process. He argues that trophies and accolades are distractions that can make a person complacent and soft. He recounts his experiences in various endurance races where he wasn't competing against other runners, but against himself. This chapter introduces the cookie jar concept, a mental bank of all your past victories and times you overcame adversity. When you are in the middle of a suck fest and want to quit, you reach into the cookie jar to remind yourself of what you are capable of. These memories provide the necessary hit of dopamine and confidence to keep moving forward. Goggins emphasizes that you must be your own biggest fan and your own harshest critic. The validation of others is temporary, but the knowledge that you didn't quit is permanent. You must learn to find satisfaction in the effort itself rather than the outcome. Greatness is a lonely path that requires you to be self-validated. In this chapter, Goggins identifies the human mind as the most powerful weapon on Earth, capable of achieving anything if properly trained. He discusses his obsession with the Guinness World Record for pull-ups, which he failed to break twice before finally succeeding. This experience taught him that failure is often a necessary part of the path to a major breakthrough. He introduces the 40% rule, which states that when your mind tells you that you are finished, you have only reached 40% of your potential. There is a 60% reserve tank that most people never tap into because they are afraid of the pain required to access it. Goggins shares how he analyzed his failures to improve his technique and mental approach for the final attempt. He stresses that you must learn to ignore the governor in your brain that tries to limit your output. By consistently pushing past the 40% mark, you redefine what is possible for your life. Success is a matter of outlasting your own internal resistance. Your brain will always try to take the path of least resistance unless you force it otherwise. Goggins argues that obsession and hard work will always beat natural talent in the long run. He details his transition into becoming a world-class athlete and a sought-after public speaker, despite having no natural inclination for either. He emphasizes the importance of a work schedule that accounts for every minute of the day, leaving no room for wasted time. This chapter is a critique of the modern habit of looking for shortcuts or hacks to success. Goggins believes that the only true hack is to work harder than everyone else around you. He describes his daily routine, which included hundreds of miles of biking and running alongside a full-time job. He encourages readers to audit their time and see how much of it is spent on low-value activities like social media. You don't need to be the smartest or most gifted person to win. You just need to be the most disciplined. Consistency is the multiplier of all skills and results. True mastery comes from the boring, repetitive tasks that everyone else avoids. After becoming a SEAL and a top athlete, Goggins realized he was beginning to feel satisfied, which he viewed as a dangerous trap. He explains that to be truly uncommon amongst uncommon, you can never stop seeking new challenges. This chapter discusses the danger of the plateau and how high achievers often become comfortable once they reach a certain level of success. Goggins pushed himself to attend Army Ranger School and Delta Force selection to keep his edge sharp. He warns that the world wants you to fit in and be normal, but that is the path to mediocrity. You must constantly seek to raise the bar for yourself, even when no one else is watching or demanding it. He believes that greatness is not a destination, but a constant state of pursuit. To stay at the top, you must remain a student and keep your ego in check. Complacency is the silent killer of all elite performers. You must always be looking for the next Hell Week to keep your mind armored and ready for battle. Goggins reflects on how his greatest failures were actually his most important lessons in life. He discusses a period where he suffered from a major heart defect and a mysterious illness that nearly paralyzed him. These physical setbacks forced him to find new ways to stay mentally strong when he couldn't exercise. He introduces the after-action report, AAR, a military practice where you objectively analyze a mission to see what went wrong and how to fix it. Instead of mourning a failure, Goggins suggests you should dissect it with surgical precision to prepare for the next attempt. This chapter teaches that failure is only permanent if you stop trying. Otherwise, it is just data. He describes how he used his time in the hospital to reflect on his life and deepen his mental resolve. True empowerment comes from knowing that you can be stripped of your health and still maintain your spirit. You must learn to love the process of rebuilding yourself from scratch. Resilience is the ability to find a way forward when all doors seem to be closed. The final chapter centers on the powerful question, what if? Goggins uses this phrase to silence the doubts in his mind and the negativity of others. When someone told him he couldn't do something, he would simply ask himself, what if I can? This mindset allowed him to ignore the odds and focus entirely on the possibility of success. He concludes the book by urging readers to stop looking for inspiration and start looking for discipline. Inspiration is a feeling that comes and goes, but discipline is a choice that you can make every single day. He reflects on his journey from a broken boy to a warrior, noting that the only difference was his refusal to accept his circumstances. The book ends with a challenge to live life to the fullest and to stay driven no matter what obstacles arise. Your life is a story that you are writing with every choice you make. Don't leave your potential on the table. Go out and see what you are truly capable of. Stay hard,